This video explains how to add a diagonal line to a plot using the R programming language. So without too much talk, let's dive into the R code. In this video I will show you two examples, and both of these examples are based on the data frame that we can create with lines 2 to 4 of the code. So after running these lines of code, a new data frame called data is appearing at the top right. And after running line 5 of the code, you can see the first 6 rows of our data set appearing at the bottom in the RStudio console. And as you can see, our data frame contains two columns which are called X and Y, and both of these columns contain numeric values. Now we could draw a plot of these data using the plot function, as you can see in line 7 of the code. And then you can see at the bottom right of RStudio that a new scatter plot is appearing, which is showing the data points in our data frame data. Now, if we want to add a diagonal line to this plot, we could first redraw the plot, as you can see in line 9 of the code. And then on top of that, we can add the abline function. And within this function, we would have to specify the coef argument to be equal to a vector object which is containing the values 0 and 1. So after running lines 9 and 10 of the code, you can see at the bottom in the RStudio console that a diagonal line has been added to our plot. We can also modify the shape and color of this line, as you can see in the next example. So in these lines of code, I'm once again redrawing our plot. And then I'm using the abline function with the coef argument as I did in the previous lines of code. However, this time I'm also specifying the color of our line to be red, and I'm also changing the thickness of our line to a thickness value of 5. So after running lines 13 to 15 of the code, you can see that another diagonal line is added to our plot, and this diagonal line is red and is thicker than the default specifications. So in the first part of this tutorial, I have explained how to add a diagonal line to a base R plot. However, it's also possible to add a diagonal line to a ggplot2 plot. And this is what I want to show you in the second example of this tutorial, starting in line 17 of the code. So as a first step, we need to install and load the ggplot2 package, as you can see in lines 17 and 18 of the code. I have installed the package already, so for that reason I'm just going to load it with line 18. And then in the next step we can create a scatter plot of our data, as you can see in lines 20 and 21. So after running these lines of code, a new plot object called ggp is appearing at the top right. And we can draw this plot to the bottom right of RStudio by running line 22 of the code. And then you can see that we have created a new scatter plot of our data based on this typical ggplot2 style that you might already know from other tutorials. Now in the next step, we can add a diagonal line to our plot using the geom abline function, as you can see in lines 24 to 26 of the code. So in these lines of code, I'm specifying the name of our plot object that we have created before. Then I'm adding to this the geom abline function. And within this function, I'm specifying an intercept of 0 and a slope of 1. So after running lines 24 to 26 of the code, you can see at the bottom right that our plot is updated. And as you can see, we have added a diagonal black line to our plot. Similar to the first example, we can also change the color and the thickness of this line, as you can see in lines 28 to 32 of the code. So once again, I'm using our plot object ggp as a basis, and then I'm adding the geom abline function with an intercept of 0 and a slope of 1, as I did in the previous lines of code. However, this time I'm also specifying the color to be red and the size of the line to be 5. So after running these lines of code, our plot is updated once again, and as you can see, we have changed the color of our diagonal line, and we have increased the thickness of our line as well. That's all I wanted to explain in this video. In case you want to learn more on this topic, you may check out my homepage statisticsglobe.com, because on my homepage I have recently published a tutorial in which I'm explaining the content of this video in some more detail. I will put a link to this tutorial into the description of the video so you can find it there. If you have liked this video or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. I'll try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. Furthermore, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified about future video releases. I have already published about 500 videos on this channel and I'm releasing new videos on a daily basis. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next video.